I'm struggling with an addiction to adult content. I made it 4 months without it. But one day I was mentally and physically exhausted and I broke. I asked my mom what to do, but she thinks it's normal, but it's not. I destroyed my discipline for short-term pleasure, and now my training and my goal of getting a girlfriend, it feels as heavy as a cinder block. I feel depraved, but I need your help. Oh man, this is a heavy one. I can't say that I've ever been through this specific scenario, but I'm going to give you my best advice. I've had my own addictions, I've had my own compulsions, but it really goes more towards food and creature comforts more than it would adult content and stuff like that. But I do think that the same principles apply. So you're in luck. And man, honestly, I'm going to be real with you here. I don't think you're depraved. I know you keep saying that about yourself. I do think you are wasting your energy though. When you rely on cheap digital comfort, I'm talking like the adult content or anything on the internet that is instant gratification, you're not actually relieving anything. There's a fire in your brain, there's a fire in your mind, you're not putting it out. You're just turning on an air conditioning in there. You get 5 minutes of that artificial relaxation, that synthetic relaxation, but in exchange for it, you pay for it with things like brain fog and having your confidence just shredded away from you, and your discipline just goes out the window, as you can obviously feel. All right, so like first off, let's just take a look at what actually happened here. You broke your 4-month streak. You were 4 months without the content, and you broke your streak. That's a huge accomplishment, by the way. Just want to let you know, not a lot of people could do that, especially when they're in the thralls of an addiction. So you should feel good about that. But alongside with that accomplishment, it comes the fact that when you break a streak that is that long, the crash that comes afterward hits you twice as hard. Hits you like a train. I think about my situation, like when I'm on a diet and I lose 20 pounds, I lose 30 pounds, I feel really good about myself and I'm getting my physique together. Once I relapse on that and I'm having fast food and I'm having ice cream and I'm having candy and I'm eating easily like 4,000 calories a day, oh my God, like the guilt, the dread, and the knocking off the wagon feels terrible. So I understand why you're in this spot. You are not alone. Remember that you are not alone. You might be in a bad spot in your head, but just know it's a spot that a lot of people have been, and that includes me. But back to the adult content. When you flood your brain with instant gratification after months and months of staying disciplined, your body experiences a severe drop in energy right afterwards. It's like your dopamine is spiking up and then you just slam it down to the ground. It's going to take a long time to get back to baseline. And that's when brain fog sets in and your physical strength drops and your motivation and your outlook on life completely flips. It makes sense. But that sudden drain on your nervous system is exactly why everything feels 10 times harder the next day. If you want to maintain a long streak or just try to put together as many days as you can, you got to realize that the true cost of giving in is not just, oh, like I got a brief lapse in judgment, so my discipline goes down for a day. It actively has a cumulative effect where it drains the physical and mental energy from you for days to come, for weeks to come. And if you don't hop back on the wagon, it gets harder and harder. Now, something that I find to be very interesting, and I'm not coming at you with judgment here, but you did go to your mom for advice about this. And she told you that your habit was completely normal. Now, who am I to say? I've never had that type of relationship with either of my parents. It's not really something that I like to do, but I respect it if that's like a level that you can get with them and confiding about real life stuff. I get it, but you might want to stop asking people for advice about topics that maybe they don't truly know about. I don't know anything about your mom. I don't know anything about your family or your support system, but make sure you're auditing, like, is this person qualified to give me any advice on this? You know, are they trying to build the same life as me? Do they have the same goals? Have they had the same experiences? Are they like a similar person? Should they be behind the wheel of how I operate? And that goes for YouTubers too. Like if, you know, I appreciate that you trusted me, but if you ever get the impression that you can't ask me for advice on something, you don't think that I'm qualified, I understand. But yeah, society has normalized like low energy, comfortable living. And, you know, the average person consumes easy media and, you know, easy to digest content, you know, eats hyper processed foods, probably comes home from work and pops open a beer to numb their stress and spends most of their life and their daily hours in a constant brain fog. Now, to them, scrolling these adult sites and whatever goes into it and all the compulsion around it is normal because they've already accepted living their life at that capacity. They probably do it themselves. But when you say, no, this habit's killing my drive and it's making me feel weak, they might not really get it. They might not understand where you're coming from with that. They might honestly think you're overreacting and just give you a pat on the back, and then you're stuck being like, oh wow, not only am I letting myself down, they think I'm weird. Like, I'm not having the same situation as them. And honestly, it doesn't matter if 99% of people do something different. If it's bad for you, it's bad for you. And you said your physical training and your goal of getting a girlfriend feels like it's heavy, like you can't take it on. I do think that there is a good reason why. I think it makes sense, and I think it's much more like science than it is like a therapy session. Your brain is built specifically designed to earn rewards through real world effort. I've seen posts where it's like, yeah, like things like pornography or things like the instant gratification you get on Instagram from following different models or just having all these women on your phone 24/7. It's not a good thing, because if you think about the way that we're wired, the way that we originated, whether we're men, women, whatever, is, you go out, you go for the hunt, and then you come home to, your one woman, and then, that's what you have. You have your immediate network. You have your immediate family, close-knit network, your society, your village that you're living in. You don't have like a whole giant list and network of different women to get with. Our brains are not designed to take that in. And man, like things like working out, learning skills, taking risks in a social sense, and especially approaching women, that kind of effort builds real confidence. You become more sure of yourself. But when you flood your brain with this artificial dopamine, you short circuit that natural process, and you really hand over your brain to these short-term gratification systems that it's not meant to exist within. You end up getting the chemical reward of intimacy and success without really doing any of the work, without swinging any of the hammers. And at that point, it kills your hunger. It takes goals that should excite you and should stimulate your brain, and it turns them into, this exhausting task that I have to do. So lifting feels impossible because your energy's depleted. Dating feels intimidating because deep down, you probably feel guilty about your habits. And also, it's like you don't feel as much drive to actually go and meet a girl. It makes sense. And your environment matters so much more than you probably think. If you set up your room to just sit in the dark on your phone and open TikTok or open Instagram, you're handing the bad habit a win. You're giving the bad habit all the tools it needs to take over your life and influence you in a bad way. So you gotta keep yourself busy so that empty downtime doesn't drain all your focus. I mean, I look at myself and like, I'm gonna go back to the dieting thing, is the times that I do my best and I perform my best diet-wise, it's when I'm distracted. It's when like the carrot on a stick is in front of me and I'm just chasing the rat race. And even if there's some other negative aspects, like, maybe I become a workaholic, or maybe I put a lot of time into something that's just stimulating me, like maybe making these YouTube videos. Making this video right now for you is keeping me from rummaging through my fridge and having a snack. Because once I'm done recording here, my body's going to invent a reason to be hungry. So the more time I spend on this video, the better. So I'd say the biggest piece of advice I have for you is to just find things that stimulate your brain in a different way. Even if it doesn't feel productive, like you like listening to music. Maybe you like going for walks. Maybe you like going to the food store. Maybe you like trying different restaurants and becoming like a foodie, and maybe you start like an Instagram blog. Or even just, you have like a close friend and it's like, you want to go see a baseball game. Even though it costs money, it's putting you in a better situation. Honestly, I'd say like if something costs money or it costs time or it just distracts you from other more constructive things, if it takes you away from your addiction, it's a good thing. By and large, unless your hobby is like robbing people, you're better off just doing things that light your fire in a different way. I like food, I like snacking, and I distract myself from it at work by working on my YouTube script writing or working on my YouTube thumbnails or planning out videos. And I keep myself from snacking at home by recording videos and editing videos. So I'd say you just got to figure that out for yourself, be patient with yourself, put as many constructive good days together as possible, and just stop saying that you're depraved. You're not broken. You're just a guy with a normal brain who got caught in a digital trap, and it was designed to catch your attention. So you just fell into a trap, and you do have the ability to get out of it, and I wish you the best of luck, man. Thank you for writing me and trusting me with your issue.